Hey guys, it's Mr. Cinecropy. It's week 10, and this week we are looking at the Woodwind family. Now you saw me playing a recorder, which is a woodwind instrument. I blow through the mouthpiece, and the wind from my lungs creates a sound when it whistles through that, and then my fingers can make the tube longer and create a deeper note, or shorter and create a higher note. Now you saw me play the soprano recorder and the alto recorder, which is bigger, and then the tenor recorder, which is even bigger. Look at the size of that thing. So those three different sizes created a high, middle, and a low sound, low pitch. The Woodwind family is a huge family of instruments, all with a few things in common. They're tubes of different lengths that you either blow air over a hole or through a mouthpiece and create sound. Now, some woodwind instruments use a wooden reed at the top, and we'll talk about that, and some just use air to create a sort of whistle that you can control by covering the holes. There's many different kinds, and you don't often see recorders in the orchestra. Today we're going to look at 5 instruments that you would find in the orchestra. First we've got, I really love this wind quintet. This is my favorite kind of group because the sounds are just so beautiful together. You're going to see a flute and a clarinet, an oboe, a bassoon, and then an instrument from the brass family, a French horn. If you want to hear the whole song, go to the link in the comments section of this video. And I recommend you check out all the different tracks that I show you today because there's some really cool stuff. So we are traveling from highest pitch to lowest pitch in the Woodwind family, and we're going to start with the piccolo. So check out the theme to Harry Potter on the piccolo. So the little piccolo has a very high pitch, and the flute, although it sounds similar, is a little bit lower in its range because it's a bigger instrument, a bigger tube to create the sound. The flute can do a lot of different things, and I want to take a look at one of my favorite flute players right now, Ian Anderson from the band Jethro Tull, from a concert way back in the 70s. Let's check it out. Pretty crazy, huh? So the flute can make a lot of different sounds, and players can add their voice to it if they want to, like Ian Anderson does. Next up, we're going to look in the middle of the range at the clarinet. Now, the clarinet's not too high and not too low, but right around the middle. Let's check it out. Uses a wooden reed to vibrate, and the player can squeeze down with his lips or loosen up to change the quality of sound and give it an almost like the voice, almost like a singer's sound. It's really cool. Another instrument that uses the reed, a wooden reed, is a saxophone. And Mr. Nieves is here today, our special guest, to show us a little bit more about the saxophone.
If you haven't been able to tell yet, I'm holding in my hand the alto saxophone. It is part of the Woodwind family. The alto saxophone is one of the types of saxophones that you will hear in bands and orchestras and whenever you are listening to music that has woodwind instruments. There's other types of saxophones with tenor, baritone. Those give it more of a deep sound, and then we have the alto and the soprano that give kind of more of a high pitch. I love the alto because the alto is a good mix between the very high-pitched sounds and also the low-pitched sounds. Today we're going to be talking about how the saxophone is put together, and we're going to be talking about the important parts of the saxophone. This is called the body of the saxophone. We have all of the keys on the saxophone that allows me to play different notes. We also have the bell of the saxophone that allows the sound to come out of it. Connected to the body, we put what we call is the neck. This is the neck of the saxophone. The neck of the saxophone is where the air that I blow out of my body goes and deposits it into the body of the saxophone. And I put it right here. Now, when I have the neck and I have the body of the saxophone, I still can't play any sound. I don't play the saxophone putting my mouth here. The neck has something called the cork. This is this part that you guys see here. On the cork, I'm going to put my mouthpiece. Now, I want to take a few moments and just talk about the importance of the mouthpiece, because even though this body is so very big, without this mouthpiece, no sound is going to come out of here. So when we talk about the mouthpiece, I'm going to show you another one of mine. And the only difference between them is that this gives it more of a deep sound, a more jazz sound. And this metal mouthpiece gives it more of a bright sound. Now, I want to talk about the mouthpiece. Both mouthpieces are the same. We have something that's called the reed. The reed is made out of wood. The way that the reed works is that it has to be wet. I know that sounds a little gross, but you actually have to take it a little bit. You put it in your mouth. For those that can't handle that, they run it underwater. But you just wet it a little bit. And the reason why it's important to wet it is because you're going to put it right on your mouthpiece. So the reed and the mouthpiece becomes one. And if you guys see, there's a little bit of space between the mouthpiece and the reed. That little bit of space causes a vibration. Now, when you guys learned about strings last week, you guys learned that when you grab the bow and you start to play the strings, it causes a vibration that allows the sound to come out. The same thing with the woodwind instruments. It needs to vibrate in order to make a sound. Now, I can have my mouthpiece and I can actually make a sound just with my mouthpiece. I don't need my saxophone because, like I said, my sound comes from here. So as you guys heard, that was a very high-pitched sound. The reason why was because I was squeezing down very, very tight, and it allowed just a little bit of air. So what I want you guys to imagine right now is a balloon. When you're deflating a balloon, if you just let the balloon deflate by itself, it deflates very quickly. But if you start to pull just a little bit and you make that air a little tighter, you start hearing a higher squeak. It's the same thing with the saxophone. The mouthpiece has the reed, and when you go to play, you're blowing wind inside of the mouthpiece, causing the reed to vibrate against this mouthpiece and the air come in, and that's where we get the sound of the saxophone. Now, I used to play saxophone when I was in school, but I actually didn't like it too much, so I actually stopped playing when I was in school, which I regret. But I started playing again when I turned 18 years old, and I started playing in church. And all of my brothers, they all play instruments, and I wanted to join them because I was the youngest, and I wanted to play an instrument too. So I started playing in church, and a lot of what I learned was actually through church. And I just appreciate the talent that I was given by God to be able to give to other people. I love playing Christmas music. That's actually my favorite type of music to play, just because I love Christmas and I love the songs. I love how beautiful they sound, and I think it was just made for the saxophone. I've been playing now since I was about 17, 18 years old. So I would say about 10 years I've been playing dedicated to the saxophone. When you go to play any instrument in the world, the most important thing is for you to practice. And when you practice, you don't practice to become perfect. You practice so that you could progress. There's still a lot of things that I want to learn in the saxophone and other instruments that I'm playing. And every day that I practice, I don't practice to make it perfect. I practice so that I could progress every single day. So I would encourage you guys, just like me, when I started in elementary school, I really didn't love it, but then I fell in love with it. And I started to practice every day to progress. And I was trying to be better than myself, because I wanted to play so that other people can enjoy it. And that's kind of what I want you guys to focus on. Now, when we have the saxophone placed all together, we have the mouthpiece in the correct place, we have the reed, we have the neck, and we have the body and the bell. Now this is where our sound can come out. Now when I'm playing, I could play low songs. Or I could go and I could play higher sounds. You were able to hear high sounds and also low pitch sounds. The reason why was because of what we call an octave. Now, as you see, when I press this button, this octave starts to rise. When the octave is lifted, I get a higher pitch sound. It's like kind of squeezing that balloon and getting that high pitch sound. And when it's down, it's allowing all of the air to go through, so I get a lower sound. So I'm going to share with you guys one of my favorite songs growing up, and one of the songs that I love to play, which is called Amazing Grace. And I'm going to include some high sounds. I'm going to include some low sounds, and I'm also going to include something called vibrato. And vibrato is when I move the bottom part of my jaw to get more of a wah, 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 wah sound. So something like this. So I'm going to include some of that. So I hope that you guys are able to hear it, and I hope you guys enjoy.
look at two more reed instruments in the woodwind family. There's the oboe and the bassoon. They both use two reeds that are pressed together. And those two reeds, when you blow on them, they vibrate. And when they vibrate, they create a really unique sound because it's double reed. The oboe will be over here, and the bassoon will be over here playing very low notes. In the middle, you're going to see a theorbo, which is like a lute, which is an old type of guitar playing accompaniment for these two woodwind instruments. Let's check it out. So we've seen a whole bunch of different woodwind instruments today. You saw me play the family of recorders, and then we moved through the woodwinds of the orchestra, the piccolo up high, the flute, the clarinet, the oboe, and the bassoon. Now, it's time to make our own. So to make our own woodwind instruments, I'll show you two different types. And the things that you'll need is really simple. A straw, just a plastic straw. A pair of scissors for our first woodwind instrument. And then just any kind of bottle with a small mouthpiece at the top. So bottles with a small top. We'll start with the straw. I told you that the oboe and the bassoon have a double reed. We're going to create a double reed instrument now. So here's how you do it. You're going to take your straw, press down the end, and then cut a point. Just like that. Wet it, press down with your lips, and blow through your squished lips like this. It might take a couple tries, but you can make sound out of it, kind of like this. You could even put holes in it and try to make different sounds. Now the other woodwind instrument is like a flute or a piccolo. As a matter of fact, I'll use two. My piccolo and my flute. To do this one, all you need is a clean bottle, and you put it up to your bottom lip and then blow over the top. And then if you use a bigger bottle, you get a low sound. High, low, and even in the middle. If you get a few, you can put them together. However you want to do it, that's great. So now you know a little bit more about some of the woodwind instruments you see in the orchestra, and you can make your own woodwind instruments. I hope you had a fun time. I'm so glad you came to spend this time here with me, and I wish you all the best this week. Take care, help your family, be safe, and be well. Peace.